Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for all of you making the trip and joining us today. I have been involved in economic development issues my whole life and keenly focused on what it takes to create a great environment where businesses can prosper. I grew up in a state in Ohio at the time I was graduating high school. It was a dying state. It was a state that had run on legacy industries. It hadn't modernized. It was expensive, highly regulatory in its nature, and businesses were closing and leaving. Families were leaving our state because our taxes were too high, our regulations were too cumbersome, and we hadn't modernized. And I know I was part of an effort that we took on in Ohio to change all that. We cut taxes by, we did tax reform. Our top tax rate used to be 7.25%. Now it's 2.75%. We did workers' comp reform, tort reform, eliminated the death tax, which I know harms small businesses when you're trying to keep them in the family, particularly in the ag community, or anything that has, capital intensive, land intensive. And we went in this century alone, from, as CNBC rated us, from the 34th worst state in the country to do business to the best state to do business. And now we have new businesses forming, new businesses growing, new businesses moving to Ohio. Our population is growing. We had 3,000 manufacturing jobs in the last 12 months alone, more jobs than we've ever had in the history of our state, and one of the lowest unemployment rates we've ever had in this history of our state. And some of the big announced deals that are coming to our state, and in the aerospace industry and the chips industry, you name it. And as we celebrate America 250, one of the lessons that I've learned is that when government gets out of the way, businesses do a lot better than when government tries to micromanage, when government tries to regulate outcomes, when government tries to make it more expensive to run a business. Because many of the states we used to lose to now those are high tax states, high regulatory states, and now those states have companies that are moving to Ohio. And we tried to continue that in the Working Family Tax Cut Plan, which we passed last year, which not only helped small businesses, but it also helped working families by giving them lower taxes. The average family of four making $80,000 a year in our state will see a net $6,000 tax benefit, because that's how when it works great is that businesses thrive, their workers thrive, and we move forward. And so I'm interested, Dr. Malshi. I talked a little bit about some of the things that are happening, and I know I believe you're from Indiana. Is that correct? Yeah, Indiana state that. It's doing pretty well too, Mr. Chairman. Got a lot of good things happening in Indiana, and I'm just curious. I look at the data on industrial production surge in the United States. I mentioned we had net 3,000 manufacturing jobs. You operate a particularly capital-intensive business. How does the full expensing provisions in the Working Family Tax Cut Plan help you expand your company?
So thank you for asking, and I would like to acknowledge that I'm from the great state of Indiana, from a great Purdue University as well. That is a great capital, but historically I came from Ohio State, the Ohio State Buckeyes. So I do want to
you got two good pedigrees there.
Yes, I do want to acknowledge that. But I would like to highlight something to your questions, that deep technology businesses, and I know Indiana is growing in aerospace, chips, same thing Ohio. So many a time people may believe that space has to have a port, Texas, Florida, Southern California. The supply chains for aerospace goes through Midwest. And that is the least spoken reality, that Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, all these are the Indiana crossroads of America. Supply chains, and supply chain controls the manufacturing. And I just want to acknowledge that to both states, to our senators here. Now, at the same time, the taxes, when you do a deep tech research, Ohio State, for example, has Star Lab. Purdue has a great program on MMRL, Zucro Lab, and other. When you're doing the deep tech research, you're producing an opportunity for next 250 years to create a new commerce that never existed. In aerospace is one. That how to go to space, manufacture electronics, semiconductors, habitats, and Star Labs and other places, and send back the products, or defend from space. And this is a new commerce and taxes for that you're taxing the future. If you tax the research that it takes the future to build. And in the second, the tax credits, investment tax credits are important, so you increase the influx of the investments that increases the tier 1 jobs and that creates the 6 new jobs in the community. So truly, I have experienced the benefits of this before, and now I would urge for this committee to consider that for America's next 250 years, we are really putting the foundations, just like Carnegie did, Carnegie Steel years before, just like Google did, we are now doing for space in the time to come. Thank you for asking that question.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know my time's up, but I just would say that, yeah, we have Ohio's the #1 supplier to Boeing and Airbus. You got GE Aerospace. We have that. But what we lost is a lot of the talent over the years as we had offshored manufacturing in a lot of areas. So not only do we have to get the businesses back, we have to grow the talent, and we have to invest in the modern machinery and equipment and technology so that we get the productivity so that we can continue to produce products in an affordable way so that we don't have an inflationary pressure and we don't have to rely on cheap labor in other countries. So thank you very much.
What Senator Jon Husted is describing here is really a debate over what government should do to create economic growth, and, just as importantly, who should benefit when that growth happens. Husted's argument is straightforward. Ohio struggled when it was weighed down by high taxes, cumbersome regulations, and an economy that had become too dependent on older industries. His answer was to change the business environment. He points to tax reform, workers' compensation reform, tort reform, and other policies as evidence that reducing some of the costs and barriers facing businesses can attract investment, create jobs, and ultimately strengthen a state's economy.